Hi everyone, on the road for climate action here. We are in Florida. I'm here with Zelalem, who is actually the Climate Resilience Director at Catalyst. Do you want to say a little bit about your organization, what you do?
Yeah, so Catalyst Miami is an anti-poverty organization. We've been operating in Miami-Dade County since 1996. Yeah.
What is the story of environmental justice here in Miami-Dade County, and what's the overlap with climate change?
I tell this story, but like from literally the beginning of time.
Okay, let's hear it.
So Miami-Dade County is like Tequesta land. Those are the native people that were here.
Okay.
And like over time, like the Spanish coming, they were kind of shipped off to Cuba. They lived like throughout, city of Miami and the Florida Keys. There was a woman named Julia Tuttle, and she's kind of the founder. She's like the first female founder, I think, of a city in the U.S. She's the founder of the city of Miami, and she called her friend, whose name is Henry Flagler, and he had this Flagler Railroad down like the East Coast, and she kind of convinced him to extend the railroad through Miami-Dade County. When he did that, he hired workers from the Bahamas. So it was really Black Bahamian people that built what is now Miami-Dade County. And he was really smart, and he built his railroad on the highest land in Miami-Dade County. It's like a ridge, which is it's like 13 feet above sea level.
Oh.
So basically, they were building the railroad and hanging out here, and then when they were like, everyone was all over, and then when segregation set in, they kind of like pushed those Black populations towards the railroad, which again is like the highest ground. So one of many environmental justice issues that we see is that like these communities are now being gentrified out for like a number of reasons, but one of those is like, this is a really desirable land now that climate change threatens the other parts of the city. They took the waterfront areas if you were wealthy. Yeah.
So those inland areas were previously minority groups, low income, and now with sea level rise, they're becoming gentrified. As you said, people are moving from the water towards these areas.
Exactly.
And where are these people going as property values go up?
What you'll do if you own your property, developers might offer you a voucher, and that voucher, like for 6 months of free rent, like we'll buy your house in cash and then 6 months of free rent elsewhere, and that tends to be Southdade, which is Homestead. That's our agricultural area, and it's about an hour or more south of here.
Okay.
So that poses problems for people because they might move, because it's like a good deal. You get like more land in Homestead, but then there's tolls to get from, if your job is still here, to there, and it's also like the sheer distance. It's like, at least 1 hour back and forth. Wow.
So people are kind of getting baited out of their homes with good offers, or what appear to be good offers, and things like the commute and also presumably sea level rise if they're going to low areas.
Yeah, and that's a low area. Yeah. There's been some other EJ issues, like after Hurricane Irma, of course. Like trees get knocked down, or especially the palm trees, like the palm leaves will fall off. The county has like a few places where they store all of that waste before we can get everything up and running to like take it out. And so those, like, I think like the airport is one. They tend to be like industrial areas that are a little bit like out of the way, but like the one that was in a residential neighborhood was in a low-income African-American neighborhood, and they had piled up like literally, you can see it in the newspaper, it's like stories and stories and stories high of just like waste and trash.
Not just the palm leaves,
yeah,
but
like
everything.
Yeah. Wow. And so like people were saying there were like vermins and rats, so it was like hard for them to breathe coming outside. So like that's another like very recent example of an environmental justice issue that deals with climate change, because hurricanes are supposed to get stronger and more destructive.
Right, so this is something new, actually. These sort of impromptu waste sites, I guess.
Yeah, I think the last time we had a hurricane was in like 10 years ago, like a major one.
Okay. You were mentioning a second ago when we were talking off camera about some issues with heat as it's getting hotter here. Not everyone has air conditioning. Who does have air conditioning and who doesn't?
Yeah, so heat is one of like the biggest climate impacts. Actually, since 1970, we've added on about like 72 more days of degrees over 90 degrees.
Oh wow.
So that's like an extra 3 months of summer.
Wow.
We've had it on since 1970.
Wow.
And so yeah, that's also projected to get worse, and people will tell you like if you tell them that stat or ask them like, has it gotten hotter since your time here? They're like, yeah, definitely it has, and they're not going crazy. It's, you know, some public housing units were not built to have air conditioning, and then also like we have like issues with affordable housing. That's one of our biggest issues. So if you have, and like slumlords as well. So sometimes you'll have a unit, but it's not working, or sometimes it's just affordability. Like you might not be able to afford to really turn it on all the time. So there's a lot of issues with that.
What are some of the things that your group is doing to kind of help in this time?
Yeah, so we do a free climate leadership training program called CLEAR, which is Community Leadership on the Environment, Advocacy, and Resilience. And it's a 10-week program that basically educates people on the issues, kind of talk through different solutions, and then we build up their individual leadership skills as advocates, and yeah, like neighborhood leaders as well. So we support like grassroots projects through that.
How do people enroll in that program?
They can go on our website.
Okay.
It's catalystmiami.org/clear.
All right. Is it a free program for people to enroll?
It's free. Yeah, it's free. We have a youth program if you have kids or whatever. We offer food, transportation assistance, anything we can do to make it more accessible.
What kinds of things do you talk about in these classes?
We introduce people to the concepts, so like basic climate science, how it affects our water, sea level rise, how it affects health.
Preparedness, things like that.
Or emergency preparedness is one.
How long has that program been in existence for, and are you getting good feedback? Do you find that it's actually been effective in preparing people?
Yeah, so we started in fall 2016. Yeah, we are always full. It's like one of our most successful programs, so that's really great. And then yeah, we've seen the leaders that graduate like do amazing things. Like they've been hired by local nonprofits. They like have spoken on panels with like government officials, and build community gardens, do emergency preparedness workshops in their own communities. We had Michael Clarkson, who started Conscious Contractors LLC, which is a like discounted contracting service to help people before and after hurricanes.
Does your program at all, does it do voter registration or identify the connection between getting solutions implemented and how that relates to politics and different candidates?
Yeah, we do like a local policy. The whole program is like really focused on Miami-Dade County. So we have like a session on local policy and like navigating that, what that means. And then of course now we're like trying to get everyone to register to vote and all of that.
What are some solutions that your group, if they talk about solutions that are not just on the adaptation side, but on the sort of greenhouse gas emissions side or carbon footprint side, do you find to be most important, or do you advocate for?
Yeah, I think the most important thing for like everyday people is to try to get involved with advocacy in their communities. There's like a lot you can do in your home, but at the end of the day, it's like something like 71% of emissions are by like 100 companies. And so we can all do what we can in our homes, but the impact is so much smaller than you like taking on with a team. Of course, you can't do it alone. One of these bigger companies or institutions or your county or your city, and influencing them to like really do right in mass through like community organizing and advocacy. So like joining a program like ours, or there's groups locally like 350.org or the Miami Climate Alliance or the Sierra Club that are like doing great work and like really pushing boundaries. And I think like in addition to like all the things you do at home, like doing that is like really, really impactful.
Yeah, no, I like that tip because you don't have to reinvent the wheel to do something about climate change. There's already really great groups out there that are well established, doing stuff every day, every week every year.
Mm-hmm.
And looking some of those groups up is easy, and there's always a place for volunteers to chime in. I'm sure you can attest to that as well. Any sort of closing thoughts about climate change, environmental justice?
Climate change is an environmental justice issue. Definitely affects certain populations disproportionately than others, and so it's a social justice issue. I guess, like, for those that might be watching this and are not that interested in climate, but they're interested in other things, it's like completely intersectional, and there's like a link to everything you care about.
How high would you rank climate change in terms of the priorities that are facing our Earth, our society, or even our environment?
Very high.
Very high. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate this conversation and what you're all doing. All right.
Yeah, thank you guys.